Be excellent to each other and party on. We're back for another Legacy League, and today we are continuing to tweak our Esper Vial list. We are in the pre-ban kind of lame duck period after most of the major tournaments have happened, and we're waiting to see what happens with the bans. I am hoping that Entomb gets banned and Sowing Mycospawn. I don't really care about the other cards. Those are the two that I really want to see go. And that should free up a lot of space for control, but we are going to go ahead and attempt to play control despite the fact that Entomb and Sowing Mycospawn are everywhere. And we are going to play one of my favorite lists, which is Abhorrent Vial. This is an 80 card list and it packs tons of amazing cards. We've got all the plows, we've got the brainstorms, we've got Force of Will, and we've got Vial. Those are basically our only non-creature spells. Everything else is a creature. We do have two Force Negations main deck, and we have an additional 2 in the sideboard. But our main deck configuration is for beating fair decks, and then if we run into a combo deck, which we will undoubtedly run into, or some crazy stompy deck that essentially wins on turn 1 by casting Blood Moon or Trinisphere or something like that, we have cards we can bring in. We've got 4 Hydroblast effects, and we have 2 Consign to Memory effects, and we've got 2 Prismatic Ending that deals nicely with Chalice of the Void, which our deck actually isn't that vulnerable to. And then we have some Graveyard Hate in 1 Fairy Macabre, which can be tutored by Recruiter of the Guard, and we have 3 Grafdigger's Cage, which permanently lock out graveyard shenanigans and are very good against Oopsal spells. So the rest of the list is just insane creatures that come in off Vial quickly. Abhorrent Oculus, of course, value generating machine, a very good game ending threat. Recruiter of the Guard that gets basically every creature in our deck. We have Lavinia as an anti-combo card we can tutor up and play. For late game, we have Venser, which can bounce problematic permanents. We have 4 Solitudes to complement our plows, so we just have tons of removal. We've got 4 Baleful Strix. These are blue cards to up our blue count, and they're also excellent at stonewalling Delver creatures that are up in the air trying to attack you. And we have added a single Teferi. This is both blue and white, so it pitches to both Solitude and Force, and you don't have to worry about having a second redundant Teferi if you only play 1. We've got the 4 Tamios. We've got the 4 Felias. I think Felia is very strong right now because of Overlord of the Baelmerk, which you can have arrive ahead of schedule using Impending, and then you just flicker it with Felia. You get another trigger, and then you've got a 5/5 that triggers every turn. This card is bonkers if you can get it to work. We only have 1 Bowmasters because I wanted to make sure we had plenty of blue cards, but we do have a Hullbreacher, which is really cool. And we can play main deck Harbinger, which is just so important for locking out those greedy mana-based decks, and especially for 12 Post and Eldrazi. We do have a couple of the tech lands, the Bolt lands. We've got Witch Enchanter, which is really strong, and Bogart Trawler, which is really good against Reanimator, Dredge, a lot of things. We can tutor both of these up with Recruiter. So our game plan is simple. Try to get some value permanents into play, like Baleful Strix, like Overlord of the Baelmerk. Try to get a Felia out and start going to Value Town. And if we survive long enough to go get Yorion and we haven't been Sowing Mycospawn into Oblivion, we can grab Yorion and then we can just replay all our effects and pull way ahead. And this is very much a control deck, but it's a control deck that establishes incremental value and can attack and kill by turn 6 or 7 if necessary. It's not a super aggro deck, but it has that. And of course, Vial to essentially double our mana available every turn if we get a Vial out early. We got a couple, we've got 3 Wastelands. These are not to try to tempo our opponents. We are very much just using these to stop Urza Sagas, Cavernous Souls, problematic lands that we can't traditionally deal with through Force of Will or Plow, things like that. So we're going to play a full 5 rounds. The previous league that I recorded, we nearly trophied. We got so close to trophying. This list can get there, but it is very hard to play, and there are many, many lines. So, yeah, there's going to be a lot of thinking, a lot of deliberating, and hopefully we won't go to time. We didn't go to time at all last league, and I'm hoping to continue that. See you in round 1. Round 1, we're up against a likely Oopsal Spells player, playing Oopsal Spells as of 2 days ago. So, unfortunately, we only have 6 forces, but we do get a hand with Force. We get a hand with Solitude, too, which might be relevant. I am going to snap keep this, and we're going to try to get Tamio out. See if they have any pregame effects. Like sometimes they'll play Chancellor of the Annex. They don't do that. Well, I am just going to presume. Well, I'm not going to presume anything. Actually, I'm going to go get an island just in case they're on a different deck because this is my only land. And One way to definitely lose is to have to worry about Blood Moon or something like that. Also, we're not giving them as much information. Obviously, we just revealed Yorion, so that gives up a ton of information. Okay, oops, all spells confirmed. And they're not doing the turn 1 thing, which gives us a turn to potentially create a clue. And Belfstrix is another pitch to force. Yeah, I'm not feeling good about this because we don't have a second land. Do have plenty of cards to pitch, but they have a lot of discard effects. We're almost certainly going to lose this game. There's the Thoughtseize. We can force this. We have plenty of blue cards. It doesn't really matter. And that way, at least we preserve some mystery. And they may be worried about us having like some other card that's even more powerful. Well, I can't think of what that would be. Tamio number 2 is unlikely to matter here. Okay, and we've successfully gotten them to not go off. They might have gone off had we not forced that. Lavinia, so close to being freaking good. If we can get an extra turn, we can Lavinia. If we can find a land. That's a big if. If they go for the smaller guy and they don't have mana to activate, we can Solitude it. But like that's unlikely. They probably have a hand just jam-packed with mana right now. If only we'd been able to... Oh. Okay. Surely they have the spell, the Spirit Guide. Yeah, and we had no priority where we could Solitude that. Let's go ahead and look at their... I'm not going to show up my hand because Lavinia is information. They get 2 Narcomoebas. We'll go ahead and let them flashback Cabal Therapy so we can see how many of the other guys they play. Yeah, 2 Poxwalkers, 1 Bridge. Let's just make sure I don't see anything out of the ordinary. I see Pact. I could make this bigger for you, but it really doesn't matter. Like the deck is pretty optimized. Yeah, let's go ahead and concede. All right. And that's about how you expect round 1 to go against Oops All Spells. Round 2, you do have more forces. You have Grafdigger's Cage, which is very important. I don't even know if Fairy Macabre matters now. Like the deck, the thing is, the deck is evolving very rapidly, and cards like Fairy Macabre just don't matter. So I don't even know if we board it in. Force Negation comes in. Prismatic Ending. Rarely do they, play anything out. Almost always, if they're playing out that one creature, they do have the mana to use it. Sometimes you can catch them in situations where they have to pass a turn before they get their mana back. So let's take a look at our sideboard guide here. And this is included in the description. I always create a sideboard guide. I don't always, but like recently I've been doing this every time just to make sure my sideboard makes sense. So I take out the Overlords. I take out the Plows. I bring in the Fairy Macabre. Again, I don't expect this to matter. Like basically once they flip their deck, the game is functionally over. There's nothing you can do. It does not matter how many forces or whatever you have in your deck, unless you have a Grafdigger's Cage. I don't know that Fairy Macabre matters. Overlord can definitely come out though. Bowmasters doesn't do anything here. We can take it out. It is like they don't ever cantrip or anything. They can technically cantrip, but it doesn't have. We can take out our basics. Don't want to be drawing non-blue. That's 80 cards. I think it's fine to bring in the Fairy Macabre. Just the situations in which it matters would be like, yeah, we didn't even have to take out our Plows. So we do have Plows if they try to do a Fair Juke, which I don't think they should. My friend who plays Oops says sometimes people will get confused and they'll bring in creatures against a deck like this, but it's almost always a mistake to do that. They just want to combo us hard and fast. Witch Enchanter doesn't do anything. It's a land. It could technically blow up like... Yeah, one of the problems is like so little of what we do matters. We can take it up. It's like the namesake of our deck, but it is a non-blue card that is not going to help us in any situation, really. We're not even going to want to tap out for it, probably. So we'll reveal our Yorion. This is a 1 force hand, but we're on the play. We could potentially brainstorm into more interaction. I think we keep this. It's unlikely that we brainstorm into other action, but yeah, I don't want to mulligan into Oblivion here. I'll keep. And this might be a teachable moment. Like you generally want to mold the 2 forms of interaction, but I don't think you can do that reliably with an 80 card deck. The other card you want to mull to is Grafdigger's Cage, but we have 3 Grafdigger's Cage and 80 cards. Opponents mulling to 5 cards. They may have to just go for it. We are an 80 card deck, so they may not respect force. But frankly, you should always assume that Be Excellent is going to mold a 4 or mold to a force. Like I would never just like put myself out there. I'm too conservative of a player in terms of my gameplay decisions. Okay, so here, I mean, Tomio is technically a better play than Vial, but Vial, we preserve a blue card. I think I'm actually going to Surveil, and this also keeps up Brainstorm. They're on 5, 6 cards now. We forced their first discard spell since we have a Baleful Strix that doesn't matter. They're just going to take our force, so it doesn't matter. Pedal. Okay, and they're not going for it, so now we can Surveil. We'll go get the Tundra. We have barely any black cards in our deck at this point. I do want a second land. This also gives us an opportunity to shuffle away some cards from our Brainstorm. There is a very small possibility when we do this that we could flip a Grafdigger's Cage. So I'm going to do this main phase. Abhorrent Oculus. Okay, we'll keep the Brainstorm. This goes... I think really we don't need either Vial. I mean, I'm definitely tempted to just board them out. I know it can potentially tick up to but it's not a blue card. I'm just going to go like this. And then we have Brainstorm to potentially, like we'll fetch and we'll Brainstorm and we'll see 3 fresh cards, one of which can be a force. But since we don't have access to Grafdigger's Cage this turn, we're not going to have the mana. I don't think it's correct to play. Abhorrent Oculus could be cast within the next turn or two with the amount of cards we put in the graveyard. I think they're likely to go for it here, and we're going to have to Brainstorm into a force. We can actually let them Thoughtseize this here because it's not going to change anything. The fact that they put that in tapped, okay, they're not going for it. All right, I'm going to just go ahead and Surveil. Undercity Sewer. Force of Negation, yes. Now that we have Force of Negation, we have a couple options. One is to go ahead and Tomio, and we could flip Tomio with the Brainstorm. We might find a land, and then we can regrow our force next turn. I think that's correct. We're looking for another force effect or a land in a Grafdigger's Cage. Yes! This is exactly what we needed. Okay, so Baleful Strix is the weakest card here. I do need the land. We put back Abhorrent Oculus. It doesn't do anything here. I mean, it's a 5/5 flyer. The pitch is a force, so I guess it does stuff. Okay, I'll put back the Brainstorm here, and then I'm just going to fetch, deploy the Cage, and hope that I don't have to pitch my Oculus. That was pretty perfect. We are like, our deck is definitely hooking us up here. This is not what I'll expect for game 3. But now our opponent is forced to do some sort of unfair plan, or some sort of fair plan now that Cage is down. And next turn we start regrowing Force of Wills, and yeah, they're going to definitely be in a rough spot. I mean, we could just also Tomio Ultimate. They're unlikely to be able to interact with Tomio. Yeah, they scoop. All right, that's how we want the game to go. Can we get lucky again? I think we just take out the Vials completely. And then we bring in lands, just because like I would rather have lands than Vials, because frankly, we're just not going to have a window to really use Vial, because we're going to be trying to interact with them the whole time. We can bring in one more card. I think we could bring in Prismatic Ending. Like it does hit some of the things they do. We could bring in Bowmaster is just such a bad card against them. It does nothing. It's a raise the alarm. Hydroblast is an additional blue spell that we can pitch. We actually don't have that many blue spells in our deck. I know it sounds crazy, but I'm actually bringing it in. Hydroblast is better than Blue Elemental Blast, by the way, because you can actually cast it, put it in your yard, and then feed it to the Abhorrent Oculus. Let's take a look at how. It's just for sort by color, and then let's yeah. So we've got 30 blue cards. Not a lot. Not a lot. Yeah, I am definitely going to bring in that thing. All right, let's run it. Bringing in a blast. Feels bad. It'll feel really bad if they actually do have some permanent that Prismatic Ending could have dealt with. But, yeah. I mean, this is a force hand. Let's see if they mull. So, conventional wisdom is you mull the 2 points of interaction. Bogart Trawler doesn't do anything, unfortunately, because they're never going to pass the turn with... let me complete my thought. They're never going to pass the turn. I'm gonna keep this 2 forms of interaction. Just hope they have a slow start. Not a strong keep. But they have to respect the fact that like I could have Cage. So I'll force their first interaction spell. Okay, they're doing a slow start. That's great for us. All right, so we're just going to open this. We'll pass. Consign does stop the trigger from the guy. If they don't have protection and they just try to raw dog it. Sorry, trying to keep this family friendly. That's where you do something without protection. Okay. Oh, Lavinia, you're so close to being good here. Yeah, I think we just surveil and keep our cards up. That is very much what we want. We can brainstorm into that if we need a second force. We do have blue cards to pitch. Getting Lavinia on the table should end their ambitions. Okay, they're going for something here. Battle Street Spy. So we can just let it resolve. We can consign, and then we can force the pact, if they have a pact. I think that's correct. They'll have to have 2 pacts. Let's go! Let's freaking go. Draw a second force here. Oh, we could play this land out. I want to... If I can brainstorm into casting Lavinia, that's really strong. Harbinger's fine. I think what we do is we do play out the Trawler. I'll stack the 2 Lavinia, the 2 Felias on top. We're not going to be able to use those for a while. I play this out. Next turn we have Hardcast Force Negation. And we just have to chill. We also have Harbinger, which shuts them off black, which probably shuts off a lot of their angles. Like they're going to be attacking us for 2. They have 3 cards left in hand, but we have 3 forces. Only 2 of which can be cast. If they had interaction, they probably would have used the last turn. So we just got super duper lucky here. This is a very experienced Oops All Spells player. And I do think it's not like you're playing like Delver or something in terms of skill, but it is not an easy deck to play. Okay, they just had a second spy. So we are going to force. And the question is, what do we pitch? I think we pitch Lavinia. Even though she does lock them out, Harbinger locks them out too. Okay. I will survive. All right, I'm just going to play this out as a beater. And then we can kind of race them. Yeah, we're never going to be able to cast any white spells. There's a decent chance that we draw Solitude or something like that to get rid of this. Goblin Charbelcher. No, thank you. We are going to just save a life. Pitch cast that. They have to keep drawing into WinCon type cards. We're ahead. We're winning the race. We're drawing dead here. We have nothing going on. We just have to hope they don't have another Charbelcher. If they have a Charbelcher, that's probably game. It would make sense to just like overload in WinCons like Charbelchers and stuff. Now they have to hang back. They're not hanging back. Okay. They can wait till the last moment, basically. That is a land that we can play out. We could have technically brainstormed that back, but we can go get Yorion now. That's free to do. There wasn't a window where we could have done... I mean, technically we could have gotten Yorion instead of playing Harbinger, but I stand by my Harbinger play. One more card and we get... One more land and we get Yorion in play, and Yorion will be very strong here. Let's go. Yorion. And now we can close the game pretty quickly, which is something we want to do here. Yeah, because like at any point, if they draw it, we're just dead. Like if they draw Charbelcher. That's like the one card that, yeah, they scooped. We did it. We beat the big bad. It's not the big bad. Like I think our matchup against this, even though we're not, actually, this might be one of our worst matchups. I don't know. Blue-Black Reanimator is the most powerful deck in Legacy, but we actually have like a slightly favorable matchup against it. Anyway, we're going to keep playing. See you in round 2. Oh no, we're up against another freaking combo player, most likely. And I mean, like, unfortunately, if you go into leagues, that's just par for the course. Somebody mentioned that, like, paper isn't like that. You know, you don't encounter as much combo in paper. But I'll tell you, I've been playing a lot of events, and I've played against a lot of Oops All Spells in paper. I haven't played against Necrodominus ever in paper, but that's what our opponent is likely on. Necrodominus combo. They could also be doing, like, some sort of Reanimator, but most of these have been Necrodominus. If they're on mono green depths, our hand doesn't do anything for that. But Baleful Strix does block for a turn at least. They've mulled to 4. I don't think a depths player would be doing that. All right, you have the Pact. Oh, they're just going to chill. No plays. All right. We get Tommy on the table and start attacking. I think that's probably better than Surveil, just in case the game goes long. Yeah, we do have plenty of cards to pitch to force. So like that's the thing I always check before I play a Tomio is, okay, do I still have cards to pitch to force? I don't believe our opponent is going to use soft permission. I think they're just going to try to jam and hope that we don't have a force. All right, so we just went up a card functionally. I'm just going to attack. There's no point in playing any of this stuff out. They're going to basically glass cannon. We're going to counter them, and then they're going to probably concede. That's usually how it goes. We could flip Tomio. I don't mind just one-sided Howling Mine when our opponent's doing nothing. Let's go get, I guess, like an Underground Sea. There's no reason we need to show them white. White doesn't, like, if we don't show them white, they won't expect Lavinia. I'm trying to think if there are any other white cards that are threatening to those types of decks. Like, I would never play, what is it called? Deafening Silence. I just don't think that card's very good, frankly. But that is a white card that you can do if you're really afraid of these types of Storm decks. And by these types, I mean, this is not like the Epic Storm. This is not like Mono Black Storm. This is not even like the Epic Gamble. This is just like all in, like, please don't have a force. Or please don't have two forces. I've got a pact. Please don't have two forces. All right. So, yeah, I'll just grab the Underground Sea. Then I can go ahead and crack a clue here. Pull further ahead. I do think it's probably okay to brainstorm here. We have a lot of dead cards. Wow, we've got so many dead cards. Let's go ahead and attack. Actually, you know what? We're never going to actually really get a window where we can rerow something relevant because everything's going to happen in one compressed turn. So I think actually our strategy of just doing the clues is actually correct. I'm going to go ahead and archive here. And that way I can at least get a look at, yeah, we don't want a Solitude. I mean, this does tell our opponent a little bit of our deck. It basically tells them, yeah, we're on Esper Vial. But we kind of already told them we had white. Let's pass. There's 7 cards. They don't have to discard yet. They'll probably wait like another turn. All right, we may look like we're in an incredibly inassailable position, but we're still super vulnerable here. Okay, my goodness, can I get any more lands? I think I am going to brainstorm here just to try to get rid of some of these lands. It's terrible. All right. Is that correct? I think it probably is. Oh my goodness, we didn't get anything relevant at all. We still don't have a path to closing the game. I'm going to put back the Solitude. I mean, Solitude is better than land, but like they don't have creatures in their deck. I can put this back. Yeah, I'll just do this. Spider crawling on my computer. I had to send him flying. All right. With my breath. Okay. So, we actually don't have very many blue cards. I don't think we can pitch I don't know if we can actually play the Strix, sadly. I think we put back Wasteland, which is, well, I mean, could they might float a land out and we get lucky. Yeah. I'll just put back 2 Surveillance. Did I already put my cards back? Okay. Well, we're going to have to discard, which is awkward. Yeah, let's go ahead and discard. I'll just discard yet another fetch. I can go get Yori next turn. Okay, they played a land. We can waste that if there's... Okay, so this... Like, mana is actually really important here. And if we stop this, they may not have more mana. So I'm going to go ahead and try to fight over this. If they pack, that's okay. Like, we weren't going to win anyway. But they might have sequenced... They may have discard cards. Okay, so now we lose. I can't... There's nothing I can do here that's going to change anything. Unfortunately, I don't have any 1-drop cards in my deck. I don't have Spell Pierce. I'm not going to draw into a blue card. Like, we just had incredibly bad luck here. So yeah, we're gonna let that go. Now they get their mana, and they might hit a fail rate. It's unlikely. Thoughtseize is fine. I can just wait. I'm at 18 life. I don't think they'll have any problem building enough Storm. They've seen our hand. Dark Ritual again. Okay, so yeah, they only had the initial Black Source. That's why they had to pact here. Okay, so they are on freaking Oops All Spells. So we are going to get to see their deck at least. Yeah, and again, there was nothing I could have done there. We don't have any main deck graveyard hate other than Bogart Trawler. Okay, so 3 Narcomoebas. They have 3 bridges. Okay, this is a different build. They get a bunch of zombies. Is Thassa's Oracle even in their yard? I presume it is, but if it's in their hand, they would have to Thoughtseize themselves. Yeah, it's in there. Okay, so they're getting the Thassa's Oracle back. So because they have 0 cards in their deck, it doesn't even matter. Like, I can't plow it or anything. So they win. Okay. All right, what did we learn? We learned that the meta is toxic as heck. Okay, so I actually think they're playing like an older style list. We'll just board like we did last time. Cages come in. I'm glad, by the way, like that one of the changes that I made was to go up on cages. But if they're playing this list, I didn't check to see, but like Fairy Macabre might do something here, so I will board it in. We'll board in our Force Negations, our Consigns, Bailmerk out. I'll keep the Plows in, just again, in case they do some crazy juke plan. It is possible that we like counter something and then Bogart Trawler stops them from being able to reanimate, like one of their win cons. That does come up sometimes. Solitude is better than Plow because it can be just, it's a win con. Cut the Solitudes. Or cut the Plows. Just bring in a Hydro. I do feel like we could cut some lands, but I don't want to get stuck with a hand where everything else is fine, but we don't have enough land. We've maxed our blue cards. Well, we haven't technically. I think we got lucky in the first round against Oops, and now we're going to pay the piper. This is only 1 point of interaction, and it's not even like a good point of interaction. I think this is a mulligan. Wasteland, we could... Okay, so we could force a negation like their removal spell, pitching Baleful Strix, and then we could waste the land that they used to play it, and maybe that would slow them down. Or we could... If we just find the freaking... cage, that's game. Let's go deeper. Lavinia is good, but she's not going to come out fast enough. Oh, I was supposed to cut the vials. That's what I was supposed to cut. Okay, this is about as good as we're going to get. So card that goes back, Solitude, Vial. If I put back the Wasteland, like we don't have the ability to waste them, but I think that's the best we can do. So we've got 2 points of interaction, but they're not good points. If we can get a Lavinia on the table, that's great. But like realistically, we're gonna have to pitch her to their first, interaction spell. Okay, nothing. They're just going to discard, which tells me they may have reanimate. Okay, that's great for us because now we can just get rid of that. Oh, that's so good. All right, I'm just gonna do this. I think this is good enough. It's better than just having Force Negation to passively do stuff. I think it'll be unlikely that they can get this off the table. Now we wait till they do something like really anything, and they just scoop. Whew. Oh my goodness. Yeah, I guess they can't win with Lavinia on the table. Mulligan aggressively, folks. Like our first hand would have just gotten destroyed by that because they almost certainly had like a pact or something. But they can't. The secret is they can't pact defensively. Like they can only pact offensively to protect their own spells because they have to be able to win the same turn they pact. So they can't stop Lavinia. Okay. So Vial comes out. That is the card that we're taking out. Again, like it's the core of the deck and I don't like taking it out, but it does come out here. And I'm going to bring in the Hydros and the blue elemental blasts. We just need blue cards. And then maybe like a prismatic ending. It's a pretty flexible tool. Yeah, I'll bring in a prismatic ending. All right, let's try it. I think it's extremely unlikely that they play like something like Defense Grid or something like that, but their list is different from what we played last round. All right, let's just find a cage. So this has to be mulled. On the draw, you mull to double interaction. This is force and cage. I'm going to keep this. I'm going to force whatever they do, and then I'm going to cage. The card that's going to go back is going to be Bogart Trawler. Because we can use Witch Enchanter to play out Lavinia if we need to. All right, we're going to pitch Brainstorm here. This should slow them down enough that we can resolve a cage. My heart is beating out of my chest. Is this going to work? They can't usually stop this. If they have freaking, what's it called though? If they have like a bunch of dark rituals, they can use Belcher and beat us that way. There's no way we're going to have enough mana to Witch Enchanter the Belcher. All right, Lavinia comes down this turn. Hydroblast doesn't do anything other than pitch to a force that we might theoretically draw. Let's go ahead and play this out. I will pay the life. Blue, white. Oops all hate pieces. Sure. Your pedal is countered. Goodbye. Oops. My goodness. Please don't make me play oops anymore. Oh my goodness. We're so lucky. We're so lucky, but we're taking disciplined mulligans. That's how you beat oops. A lot of people are like, oh, I've got 4 Force of Wills. Oops is no big deal. You haven't played 2025 oops. 2025 oops is an absolute nightmare to play against, and we're getting so lucky here. I think my win rate against oops is like 60%, and I consider myself to be like basically S tier at beating oops with control decks. I'll see you in round 2. Round 3. These are fast. Round 3, we're up against an unknown opponent. I keep it 7. I can't keep this hand. It's just too dirtily. This hand's fine. This is actually a great hand. We put back one of the lands. We can Felia combo. So I'm going to keep this. I'm going to put back the swamp. What we'll do is we'll hope to fetch blue-white. So we have Force Up. This is like basically the best hand you can have in this deck, in my opinion. Mother of Runes. Yeah, that's annoying, but I'm not going to blow a Force. Well, anyway. Let's say hypothetically we force this. I don't think we do. Felia Overlord can overpower that. I'll just use Force to protect Felia. Another Overlord is not what we need right now. I'm just going to hope they don't play a Wasteland, because, again, like, we put back a land, and I think that was totally fine. Flagstones. Okay, that's not a Wasteland. All right, great. So we can Surveil here. Let's go get our blue-white land. And they don't have like Blood Moon type cards. So it's just, we have to worry about them, you know, finding a lot of Wastelands. This does take some of the pressure off. I'm going to Felia first so that I can make sure that I have white mana. I'm going to Felia in the end step because a lot of times they'll play out a Crocus if they think that, and Crocus is total pain. Don't play out Crocus. Okay, thank goodness. Recruiter, this goes and gets value cards, but I think we let it happen because, again, we're going to outvalue them with our current configuration. May go get like a Solitude or something like that, which we can pitch cast Force to stop. They're not playing Yorion, importantly. Like, a lot of people refuse to play Yorion on principle, and I think it's a mistake. I think you should always play Yorion if you're playing one of these value type decks. Okay. We don't get to ambush Viper their Mother of Runes because they're a disciplined player. Velia comes in. All right. And we got another land. I don't mind surveilling here. What do we want to do? It's possible that we do hit like a Tamio that we can play. Let's go ahead and do this. Black Overlord. And now we're going to Value Town. Yes, I would like a Solitude. Now we can attack. They could double block. I don't think that's wise. They could kill her at the cost of losing one creature. They opt not to. Okay, so in step, we're not actually going to be able to use this Flooded Strand to cast Tamio if we find a Tamio. I think with the trigger on the stack, we could go get the other Surveil land. I am worried about getting wasted off white, though, so I don't think we should do that. I think I'm just going to hope that we hit a creature. We've got like a 90% chance of hitting a creature here. It's not a 100%, so we do sometimes whiff. All right, Felia is going to get a +1/+1 counter. We're going to get a 5/5 creature who's going to have an awesome ETB trigger. Yeah, I'll take a Lavinia. Boom. Yeah. And we still have Yorion. Yorion's going to be insane. We can do the same thing with the second Overlord next turn. Stoneforge Mystic is not going to keep up with this. We can actually force the Stoneforge because the problem is we don't have a way to remove creatures because they had the Mother of Runes out. We need like double removal. If they tap the Mother of Runes for any reason, then I can probably remove it. Lavinia doesn't do anything against their deck, so it's an obvious pitch to Solitude. Taking 3. That helps us. Flicker Wisp. They can flicker the Recruiter. This is also a big enough blocker. I think this is a force because I don't want Felia to have to worry about this card. And again, we're going to pitch the card that can't be pitched to Solitude here. They've used most of their mana for the turn. All right. Let's go ahead and draw here. What do I want to do? I think I want to just flip another Overlord. This is so powerful what we're doing here. Unfortunately, we cannot protect Felia if they do have like a Solitude or a Plow. We have a backup Felia though. That's good. Let's go to combat. And this is what this deck does. It just destroys fair decks. It just outvalues like a champ. Yes, I would like to use the ability. I'll get back this Hullbreacher. Felia coming in. We're attacking for 8. They are probably at the stage where they want to like start, blocking and chumping. Opting to just take 8, drop to 7. I think we just chill with backup Felia in case they remove it. We also still have Surveilland if we need it. So if Felia gets stronger, we get another trigger here. Yes, I'd like to use the ability. I will get a Recruiter of the Guard. I could get Strix, but we already have plenty of cards that pitch to force, and I don't think defenses are concerned. I think this game is totally over. I'm not sure what they could do here. They could like Stoneforge into Caldra and then deploy Caldra, and then just keep it up as a blocker, but even that's not going to save them. There's the Wasteland. They have 5 mana up. They can hardcast a Solitude. Pre-war Formal Wear. Getting back Flicker Wisp. What is that going to target? I think we just have to let this happen. They might flicker one of my creatures, but it'll come back. They could flicker their Recruiter, but the game is not going to go on long enough for that to matter. That just gives them another blocker. There's nothing to blow up here. Stoneforge is fine. They got another pre-war? Okay. So they're going to be able to pre-war one of their creatures back next turn. Okay. So they get the Witch Enchanter. They destroy target artifact or enchantment an opponent controls. Oh, it is an enchantment. I didn't think about that. And we can't get it back either. Okay. Well, we do have a ball game here. I could just plow this, and then we have pretty good attacks. I could plow, and then when they mom... Okay, let's think about this. I think it makes sense to plow, and then we plow the Flicker Wisp. They respawn with mom. We could plow the mom. They respond with... They have to choose what they're going to protect. They're going to protect Flicker Wisp. And then we use the Solitude. We can get the Solitude back, and we can Solitude again. I think that's correct. So I'm going to go ahead and plow first. Here. Yeah, we get the Solitude back when we attack. So it'll protect itself. Actually, I kind of screwed up here. So it's just targeting itself. That's fine. I kind of screwed up because I could have gotten more value. Okay, now I'm going to Solitude, pitch, backup Felia. Go ahead and hit this. Now, I think I want a Recruiter here and just go get another Solitude. I've got lots of white cards. We'll get another Tundra. White, colorless, Recruiter. Okay. I'm trying to think if there's a creature that makes sense. Bowmasters can ping stuff. We don't have the mana. I think I just get a Solitude here. Okay, and then we Solitude we can do this after combat, I guess. We just want them to take a lot of damage. Okay. So this will blink this. Let's get back. Solitude. We come in for a lot of damage. They pretty much have to block some of this. They don't have to. Oh, I didn't think about this. Yeah, they can use this to kill my Overlord. Okay. I'm just going to have to hope that we're so far ahead. Okay, so with this trigger on the stack, I do want to go ahead and Solitude a couple things for the end of the turn. Let's go get... What is the most powerful thing that we can do next turn? It's probably just Bowmaster because they have a lot of X1s. And now I'm just going to Solitude here, pitching Lavinia, and I'll just hit their Stoneforge Mystic so they have to pay extra mana. It's minor. And I guess I can go ahead and hit the Recruiter. See what this has protection from white. Yeah, I messed up. I should have plowed the other way. So we're just reducing their material. So next turn we can do more damage. Again, like I'm kind of like thinking about clock as well. I feel like we've won this game, most likely, but it's not over because They're going to be able to kill our Overlord. And if they have removal, they can also kill our Felia. Okay, he's scooped. That's so relieving. Yeah, they could have brought back the Witch Enchanter and done killed. Okay, so in these types of matchups, Prismatic Ending absolutely comes in. This is kind of the reason why I put Prismatic Ending in the sideboard, because I wanted to have something to board in fair matchups. Harbinger doesn't do anything. Hullbreacher doesn't do anything. Those are obvious cuts. Bowmaster does do stuff. It's not a great card, but it does do stuff. Lavinia doesn't do anything. We can cut her. And if we're cutting her, I think we bring Harbinger back in just because he can, they weren't playing any black. They were all white, but they may have Karakas in their deck. I don't know. It's a stretch, but I think it's more valuable than Hullbreacher for you. It does hurt us where it doesn't hurt them. Lavinia could shut off Solitude at least. And it pitches to both Solitude and Force. Yeah, I think Lavinia is the card we keep here. All right, let's run it back. And this is not a favorable matchup. Like, the bad matchups for us are like non-blue fair decks and combo decks. So where we really like thrive is we're good against like slower combo decks, and we're good against bigger, grindier control decks. And I think we're pretty good against tempo decks. No deck has like a perfect matchup, and anybody who says, oh, my deck is just favorable against the entire board, well, their deck is Blue-Black Reanimator. That's the only deck that is true for. Our opponent did us a huge favor by conceding there. Okay, so this is a Wasteland of the Vial hand, and I'm going to keep it. This is a risky keep. But Vial is so strong. They probably do have lots of ways of removing it, but I'm hopeful that we can get some of these things on the table first. Okay, that's basically the most annoying land that they could play. Luckily, we do have cards in our deck that are not, and we can waste it. I guess we're lucky about that too. So we're just going to do back-to-back Vials here and chill. And then maybe we take out the White Tower of Echelon. Echelion? I'm not sure how that's pronounced. I'm exposing myself as not a true Lord of the Rings fan. Okay, if they get Caldra, we can just Solitude this. We Solitude the Caldra itself. I hope they get Caldra. They got pre-war. Okay. That's a bold thing to get when our deck is like all, cards that exile instead of kill. But I guess it's true that Baleful Strix does actually kill. Land. All right, we didn't get land. So we're just going to second verse, same as the first. Good news is we have plenty of cards to pitch for our pitch cast. If they like Flicker Wisp, I will just go ahead and exile the Stoneforge. I don't want them getting extra value. Let's go ahead, and I think Prismatic Ending is the pitch. I do think wasting this and then getting Felly out is going to be pretty good. You know what? I should have waited until they targeted it. That was a misplay. Because now they can just like reset my Vial or something like that, which is probably a good play. They're just resetting that as a creature. That is really annoying because that does blow up one of our Vials. Yeah, that's a good play. I want to compliment my opponent where credit is due. That is a good play. All right, so we're going to be spending another turn dirtling. I do think it might be time to go ahead and waste the Karakas just to minimize their options. Oh yeah, that's great. Let's go ahead and play this. We're looking for another land. Tamio, well, actually, no. We're going to skip that on Vial, so I'm going to just put her into my graveyard. Putting cards into the graveyard, not the worst because, yeah, and this keeps them a little bit farther. Like they kind of blew up one of their lands. It could be that they run low on lands. That does happen sometimes, but usually it doesn't. Usually they have plenty of lands. They wasteland me. I'm going to be clinging to this Vial for dear life. Can't even really afford to take the Vial up past 2. We're just going to keep putting Strixen in. Mom is annoying. Don't have a way to remove that. I stand by all my decisions so far, except the decision to Solitude before the target was clear. All right, we could bleed out here. I'm going to go ahead and just cast one. Let's see. We're not going to find something that can get rid of that. Wait, we could find a Solitude. If I find a Solitude, I actually will Solitude that. I think we double Strix here. Draw trigger. Prismatic Ending. Unfortunately, I can't do anything about that. Yeah, let's go ahead and play the second one. Next turn we can Felia and we can take up to 3. There's a force. That would have been nice before the mom hit the table. I think we have to let them attack. There's a very small chance that they go ahead and attack with like a Flicker Wisp and we get them to tap the mom. But Flicker Wisp in the graveyard is annoying too. Another Flicker Wisp. I'm not going to deal with this. Sadly, I think it's just too powerful at this point. It's a lot of pressure. And now they do have the ability to pre-war it back. But I don't think it was a mistake to do what I did. We have blunted their offensive. This feels great. All right. Now, I think... So we put this on the stack. With that on the stack, can I activate it? I need to put my Felia in. Okay, so I'm going to hold down control here. And this should stop it. Oh, it's not letting me. It didn't work. Maybe because I'm auto-yielding. I'm not going to use this ability, sadly. If I draw like some insane 3-bomb, it's going to be sad. No, I didn't. Okay. So attacking is fruitless. We can at least, stand here and buy some time. They're going to pre-war their Flicker Wisp back. Probably reset our Vial. That will be the window in which we put Felia into play. I'm not feeling good about this game. I think we've lost it a long time ago. But I'm going to keep playing. We have plenty of clock. I'll scoop if the discrepancy gets big enough. There's the pre-war. All right. And we'll see if they target our Vial. They have a giant potential attacker. They target this. Okay, so when this comes into play, I can't interact. All right, and now they have port to lock down our land. They're going to completely deny us. I think Solitude would be a good draw, but it wouldn't be a good draw because of Mother of Runes. So this is going to come back in play. It's going to target our Vial, and I can put Felia in. That's gone. All right, so Felia can Kamikaze and blink one of our Strixen. We need a white source because they can tap us down, and like this Mother of Runes is just a beating. All right. Again, not favored. I feel lucky to have won game 1. We're going to try our best. Very Macabre could be worth it in the sense that they do seem to have 2 pre-wars. It seems really weak. But Bogart Trawler also wipes the graveyard. And it's actually taps for land. And they do have a strong mana denial plan in both Wasteland and Rishadan Port. I don't regret wasting the Caracas. But yeah, it didn't work out. We can definitely look back on that play as, okay, you could have had extra mana, but we never found white, and white was what we really needed. If we brought in Fairy Macabre, we could take out Lavinia, who does nothing, basically. This feels really sketch, but they are clearly like trying to outvalue us, and Fairy Macabre being able to stop like 0 mana to stop their 3 mana effect. It's not bad. I mean, the actual equipment still stays on the table and does stuff. All right, final game. This is a keep. I like keeping hands that have, Tamio Brainstorm. We can't play on basics, so we're not going to. We're just going to hope to like bait out the forces and stuff. It's tricky because with Rishadan Port, you don't really want to play on basics because that's how they get you. They scare you with the Wastelands, but then they actually stop you from getting your colors with the Rishadan Ports. So we can't protect Tamio here if they just Solitude. Okay, and they have Caracas, which happens. They probably have like 2 or 3 of those in their deck, and it's only 60 cards. We only have 1. A lot of Esper Vial players play a ton of these. I don't think they're good. I'm going to go ahead and play her out, and then I can just Brainstorm. Because, we're not doing anything else this turn cycle. There's the port. Spirit of the Labyrinth is super duper annoying. So we're going to go get a Tundra here. And we're going to Brainstorm and flip her now, because these Brainstorms are terrible now. And then we're going to hope to find a land so that we can so we can recruit her to cycle away the Brainstorms. This card is really strong against us. We're just lucky that they didn't put it out at instant speed. Okay. Actually, is this a force? I think we could force it. Knowing that it's in their deck makes me want to put back the Brainstorm. But now we could just play super defensively with like Strix. Yeah, I think this is a force, and we just force pitch the Brainstorm. Put back Felia because we don't have an answer. We'll redraw this Recruiter. She flips, and now we force. Okay. And now We have fetch into Baleful Strix this turn, or we can just go recruiter, double recruiter. So we're going to plus. I think knowing that they have that ability, I think it makes sense to go ahead and just fetch. I'm going to get white. I don't really care that much about black. It does come up later. They can definitely start getting us off black, but that's not usually a big deal. So this, we get the value from recruiter. We have blocks now. And what we can do with Recruiter of the Guard is we can just keep going and getting more Baleful Strixen while we climb with Tamiyo. I doubt in their mono white deck that they're playing any card that can deal with this other than maybe Skyclave Apparition. Caldera for or Stoneforge for Caldera does pressure Tamiyo sufficiently. That'd be something we need to worry about. But I'm going to try to Tamiyo Ultimate here. They're not playing black, so we don't have to worry about Bowmasters. And we'll have a heads up if they have a Spirit of the Labyrinth. This is annoying. I'm glad I went ahead and cast out my Baleful Strix. But they can't really attack in. So I think what I do here, I play this out so I can surveil. I'm going to go ahead and just plus. And I think we just Recruiter. I think we probably get, what do we get? Venser just puts this back in hand cleanly. They could deny us mana with Port. They might actually spend a turn denying us mana with Port. Bowmasters doesn't kill it when the pre-war is equipped to it. Strix doesn't do enough. I don't really want a Recruiter and 2-for-1 myself. I think I am going to grab Venser. And now we can pass. If they want to attack into my Strix, they can. I can also just chump for a turn with the Recruiter. But we're going to try to draw half our deck, and that should win the game. That usually wins the game against any deck. So they do have the ability to port us, but they don't know that we have another land coming. Flicker Wisp. This can target Tamiyo and revert her. I cannot do anything about that. So they did have an answer to Tamiyo in their deck. Right. And now, unfortunately, she's pretty vulnerable to just being bounced back to hand. They still don't have good attacks. Okay, I'm going to fetch in the end step, and I'll just surveil. I'll go ahead and get a black source. It's fine. They're bouncing her back now. That is smart, by the way, because I could have gotten Brainstorm, but it wouldn't have worked anyway because of the Spirit. I think we'll just go ahead and get the Undercity Sewer here. I think we don't need that. It might sound like hubris. They could drop like a Wasteland next turn. Velia, we're really looking for a Wasteland of our own here. I think what we do is we instep Velia, and maybe they're tapped out, and we can bounce. But I do want to go ahead and move forward a little bit. Oh, I can just go get Bowmaster. That's good. I think I just go get Bowmaster. Recruiter. I'll have to get a basic Plains here because of the way I tapped. Bowmaster is good. Yeah, we'll do that. And then I can just wait. There's no real reason that I need to do anything. And then I can choose whether to put in Velia or Bowmaster. They can't instant speed anything because they don't seem to be playing Vial. I don't think I've seen Vial out of them any game. So Solitude is a card they could cast here. All right. They're going to go into another pre-war. Caldera would also make sense if they want to get that. Lion's Sash. Okay. That does make a big creature. I would much rather poke that than the Flicker Wisp if they give me the window. But I am instead going to go get a Plains here. I can't get wasted off white. That would be too embarrassing. And we are just going to go ahead and clear this Flicker Wisp. So that doesn't mean that they don't also have like another equipment in their hand. But we did wait to get a little bit more information. Delta's great. I think our play here is to go ahead and put Yorion in the hand because Yorion blinking everything is going to be pretty strong. And we can overload them by just playing this out. Now they have to tap this instead of eating one of their cards. Just wait. So they could definitely like fetch or they could port and waste us. That would keep us a little lower resource. I'm just going to fetch a basic island here probably. I'm worried about time because there's not a real clear path to victory here. Yorion is a huge flyer and they don't have any flyers. So being able to hit them a bunch with that could work. This Strix has been pulling so much weight though. It's a really good card. Okay, here they're going to put in like a Caldera or something. Maybe they pre-war if they have one in hand. They have a Caldera. That's fine. I can just bounce the Germ token. But it is, it's something I have to do. It takes a turn cycle. They don't have... Okay, that is annoying. So now they can hit for a lot. I have to double block. Or I could just block with Spirit. They bolt that in. They should attack with Calder here. They can attack with that too. Okay, the real question is, do I want to triple block here to just get rid of this? I think it's worth it. We lose a lot of material, but I don't really care about this Bowmaster or this Orc Army token. If they have a Plow as their last card, it is pretty bad for us. Hope this works. Okay. I can Surveil end step, where I can Felia. Their tower's still untapped, so I don't... Oh! So I can Felia here. Darn it. That's so bad for us. Okay. Yeah, these pre-wars, they're a lot of value. Okay, they're getting back a Flicker Wisp. Yeah, so they can flicker their own Stoneforge. How many of those freaking pre-wars do they have in their deck? Flickering pre-war. Oh, so disgustingly brutal. All right, I'm going to go ahead and play Felia out, and then I'll play Venser as well. They're very close to just being able to move Calder to a different creature. Let me go ahead and play this out. Doesn't matter. 5 minutes on the clock. So we hit the Caldera. We can plow. Okay, let's think about this. So we plow the Spirit. We germ the Caldera. They're tapped out. They can't block with Lion Sash. And then we can just untap everything with Yorion and search again. And then they have to choose which legendary creature they want to go after. Felia will die if she collides with either of these. I'm thinking very hard, but I don't know if there's a solution to this. So the Spirit has to go. I feel confident of. Venser makes clean kill on this. We flicker the pre-war. It leaves play, but it doesn't change anything. We could go get Solitude. We don't have a second white card to pitch, though, is the thing. We Felia Kamikazes. We Recruiter. We go get... I mean, like, my brain is just telling me there's no solution to this puzzle. We're gonna take a lot of damage. They're gonna be able to equip Caldera. Like, I know it sounds like fatalistic and meek and everything, but like I genuinely think this is just unwinnable from here. There's no way that we can get multiple triggers off of Recruiter, and even if we do, they're dealing so much damage next turn. So the Plow would be on this. They could just re-equip this on something else and add 2 power to it, hit for 7 with this. They could also reconfigure Lion Sash. They can bounce all our blockers out of the way. Yeah, good games. This is not favorable. And I felt like there was a window where maybe I could have caught up, but like they're just getting so much value off these pre-wars. All right. So, yeah, that was a brain buster. Sorry, my excellent friends, that I couldn't figure out a line. See you in round 4. All right. My son's playing some piano in the background. We're going into round 4. We are 2-1 after having lost to kind of like, uber value mono white with Karakas, our nemesis. This hand is okay. It's not like spectacular. It's slow. If our opponent is on a combo deck, we're just dead in the water. However, this is totally fine if they're on a fair deck, and it might be actually a good hand. We are on the play, so we can Marsh Flats and we can Surveil. I'm going to keep this. Again, totally unknown opponent. This is not like a 60 card deck where you can realistically mold to force. It's a lot harder to find a force here. So if they jam Blood Moon or something like that, we do have an answer to that. This doesn't actually affect our hand at all, which is great. But we don't know whether they're playing Moon Stompy. I think we do want to go ahead and just get the blue-black land here, because we have access to basic white anyway. We can always flicker the Blood Moon out of play with Felia. So there's Undercity Sewers here. I do think it might be worth wasting that. Witch Enchanter is an above-average card that can be blinked, can be played as a land, but I actually think we bin it, because if we can draw to the Overlord combo, that's really strong. And then we'll already have something in the yard to return. Okay, this does get Island. I mean, my instinct is to just waste here instead of fetching Island, just in case it sets them back. Like if they just play Mountain Pass, that's pretty good for us. All right, and we're not doing anything this turn, but yeah, like we took out their Soul Land, and sometimes it's really impactful. Okay, Forest. Interesting. My read would be that they're on red-green initiative. Okay, so we could go get Felia. I think if they're on green, the likelihood of getting Blood Moon is lower. I think I just wait till the end step and then I Felia here and I hold up this and then we can potentially bounce stuff out of play that they've done. And we can surprise them with Felia. And we still have the shuffle to go get a land if we need to. Waste. Okay, they're on Eldrazi. Mystery solved. It's definitely Eldrazi if they're playing Waste. Blinking this does make it 0, which can shut off like Lotus Petals and stuff like that for my opponents. I think we're going to attack and we're going to flip that Chalice. We're going to turn that friendly Chalice into an unfriendly Chalice for them. We have no 0 drops in our deck. They're going to take 2. At this point, we have 2 options. One, we can just Recruiter. We could get to Fairy and Plus. I don't think that's super strong. I think it's better to Recruiter. And I think I'm going to go ahead and get just another Tundra. No, I don't. Maybe another Underground Sea just to make sure that we have access to all 3 colors, even if they waste us. That Wasteland on Ancient Tomb was probably very impactful, though. Unfortunately, this Aether Vial is a little bit slow. I think it's correct to go ahead and Recruiter for momentum here. Aether Vial is best in your opening hand. Harbinger is the best card in our deck against what they're doing, even though they have their basics out. So they get their Chalice for 0. Cavern. Naming Eldrazi. I'm really glad I didn't mull this hand. Okay, no plays. Interessante. Do they have... Okay, we drew another land. This gives Swamp. And then we're 1 card away from potentially Recruitering. I don't think they have any instant speed. They have K-Command, which they can't cast. I'm just going to play this out now. They are not having a good time over there. Like, I've completely blunted pretty much everything they've tried to do so far. They are going to have access to, Sowing Mycospawn and stuff like that, but it's just not going to be as impactful. How do they cast this? How do they have colorless? Oh, they can tap that for colorless. Okay. X equals 1. And they are just going to create a colorless Eldrazi spawn and scry. Yeah, that's fine. Deal. That does mean that they will be able to cast a subsequent K command to remove this later. Actually, if I just freaking blink the spawn, I'm just going to blink the spawn. When you're playing against a mean deck, it's okay to be a meanie against them. Just rules of engagement, friend. Don't hate the game, hate the player. That's what people always say when they're being a dick to somebody else in a game. Okay. Yeah, I will yield. If every match against Eldrazi could go like this, I would be a very happy man. The One Ring. Yeah, you're welcome to do that. I don't think it's going to get you very far when you don't have mana, but you're welcome to hasten your death. They'd have to tap it several times to actually negate the 4 damage or 5 damage that I'd be doing here. Okay, they're just opting to not use it, which is fine. I am going to... I don't think Teferi is correct. Teferi can't bounce the One Ring back to hand, but it doesn't accomplish what we're looking to do. We'll see what we draw. I think it's probably correct to just Recruiter here. We can certainly flicker Recruiter. We could go get a Solitude. We could go get... Maybe it makes sense to actually go get Venser, because then we can potentially stop, but they still get the cast triggers. I'm just going to go ahead and attack, and this is just to trigger this, and then we'll go look at our deck real quick and see what... I think Bowmaster might make sense. Yeah, I'm going to go like this and just Recruiter again. And I am keeping up Bowmaster mana. And I'll just grab Bowmaster, and that way they won't be able to... Well, they can technically tap their ring, and it'll just grow my Bowmaster army. I think Bowmaster's fine here. It speeds up the clock. And I'll go get a Solitude too. You are not going to get any free lunches here. I am going to poke my Harbinger, I guess. Sorry, my Lady of the Sea. Going to take one for the team here. Okay, and now I can just poke the army, and it will grow faster than it dies. I can just see all the orc armies. They're just firing arrows into their feet. Are you sure we didn't do this, boss? Okay. So let's go get the Solitude here. And then we've just got so much stuff covered. It's very difficult to imagine losing from here. Yeah, they're super duper dead on board. especially if they tap that ring. They're not necessarily dead on board, actually. Okay, they are tapping the ring, and they are going to take some damage here, and we're going to get a bigger army. Flush Tricker's fine. I'm going to Solitude it as soon as I have priority. They have no colorless mana or mana of any color here. They shouldn't have tapped their forest to cast this. Lotus Petal gets countered. Before they get this spawn token, I'm just going to go ahead and kill this thing so I don't have to take damage. You could say like, oh, can't you just Karakas, or can't you just, couldn't you just play Teferi next turn and bounce it back to hand? And I think I could have done that too. This way they do gain 2 life. I don't think it's going to matter. They do get a spawn token. So that's a blocker. And they can cast another spell if they'd like to. Main thing is I'm just trying to manage clock. Because like this game is definitely won. Once you are basically winning the game and there's nothing your opponent can do, you should just turn to maximizing clock just in case you need it. And when you're playing a control deck that's like a Yorion deck, you always need your clock. This, I will go ahead and take it up. Just Overlord. We can just attack. I'll just Overlord. Like, it does take a little bit off my clock, but I'll play it out just in case. I'm not sure whether they will survive this round, but I can get back a Solitude here. I don't think they're going to survive, but this is going to blink this, and now we've got a giant beater. I have F6 through the turn. Okay, they skip. All right, that Wasteland. Man, that was one of the best Wastelands of my life. Sideboard. Consigns come in. That's it. Just 2 consigns. I think Prismatic Ending can come in too. Let's take a look at our sideboard guide here. -1 Lavinia, -1 Bowmaster, +2 consign. And the reason we take out Bowmaster is there aren't that many targets for it, and Hullbreacher is just a much better lock piece, and it also pitches to force. So Lavinia, yeah, I think Lavinia comes out. I agree with my reasoning there. And Bowmaster, Venser, this is a pretty terrible card, frankly. I'm trying to think of a situation. Like, it could be like in a perfect tempo situation. The only reason this is in my deck is I just needed another blue card to pitch to force. And there is like the dream, which I've lived before, of Karakas looping Venser and just them never being able to cast a spell again. Hullbreacher could stay. Maybe it is Venser that gets cut. Prismatic Ending, Teferi is pretty terrible against them. Actually, any sort of bounce is pretty bad again because they get their cast triggers. I think we just do that. All right, so Eldrazi is not a favorable matchup. I think it's like slightly unfavorable. I could be wrong. This hand is freaking cracked. We've got Force, we've got Plow. The excess lands are kind of annoying, but I think it's okay. I think we do open Swamp Vial, and then next turn we can just Strix off of this. We can go get a basic island. We can also get a Tundra. That is if we don't have to force something. If they play a turn 1 Prismatic or a Chalice, I probably will actually force it because it's really important that we get Vial down. Yeah, it looks like that's what's happening. I think this has to be forced. Sadly. This is one of the few things that is actually like worth forcing in their deck. Like almost everything has a cast trigger. Okay. So I definitely think this is going to go get a Tundra. It might make sense to go ahead and get Tundra now. We can get a turn without them wasting us if we play this out. Yeah. I'll do this, and then I've got Tundra at the ready. All right. So we have to hope that we draw like Oculus or something like that. That's a really sick thing that we can play out. They don't have a way in their deck to get rid of Aether Vial other than Blast Zone. Because all their exile type stuff is destroy target permanent that's 1 or more colors. They have 4 mana, 5 mana. This is scary time. Fortunately, our hand is pretty jank now. So if they do like take one of our cards, it's not the end of the world. Stopping the bodies on Eldrazi is not a big deal. You need to stop the One Ring. Okay, well that's pretty fast. It's turn 2 One Ring. Our turn before our second turn, they've got One Ring going. But the fortunate thing is they do a lot of damage to themselves, like they're tapping the tomb and stuff. That we might be able to just stall them out and have them die under their One Ring. But the problem with One Ring is it's not restricted because it should be restricted. It should be called the One Ring. The text should say you can only have one ring in your deck because that would be like thematically accurate. So I do think that it's fine to archive here rather than Delta. My reasoning is We're going to need to get rid of this card at some point, and I am likely to have to use this to go get a land, so I'm not going to have a shuffle effect. Yeah, so we'll just do that. Strix is way above average against their deck. Like, Strix is actually really good against them because they can exile it. They can use exile-based removal to get rid of it, but you do get a card, and they're often reluctant to attack into it. We can also play it out on Vial, off of Vial, and surprise them and get combat, like take out some big fatty. Like if they have Devourer Destiny or something like that, they may just cast it even though there's no valid target. Oh, they do have Wastecape Battle Mage, which can get rid of this. That is a really annoying thing. Chalice on 1 is annoying. We can't stop that. So that blanks our Plows, but we do have Solitude, so we can pitch cast one of our Plows. Every turn that they tap these, okay, that's bad news, but it doesn't actually stop us. Yeah, I'm just going to accept it. They're at 11. They've been really aggressive with, they haven't presented any threats. So game 3, we're definitely bringing in a second Prismatic Ending with the amount of permanence they're showing here. I think between Disruptor Flute and Chalice, it's a slam dunk to bring that in. So we can still take up our Vial. We just can't activate it. All right, so Strix, we'll go ahead and play it. I don't have hope that it's going to live, but we do get a card off of it. Felia is great. Felia can start blinking Strix. Felia can also blink Chalice. So we'll do that next turn. We have a Surveil, but we might want to just get a white source here, sadly, because we don't want to get cut off white. There's a very decent chance that a kicked Sowing Mycospawn will happen here. Devourer of Destiny cleanly deals with the Baleful Strix if they have that in their deck. They're at 9. They have like really 3 turns to figure this out. And plus, we're going to give them some life with Solitude if they have a giant attacker that we have to kill. But I'm actually not going to use Solitude unless I really need to. You don't often hit the fail rate on Eldrazi where they like kill themselves before they can... Oh, there's the Blast Zone. That was the one I was talking about. They can remove Eldrazi. Or remove Aether Vial. So I'm using like... You know how sometimes it'll be like... oh yeah, there's the Sowing Mycospawn. Okay, so we're just going to chill and we're going to hope that like they don't find a second One Ring. Like they may not be playing all 4. Because they opted to exile the non-basic. They're probably just going to get another Eldrazi Temple. Okay, that makes sense. They could have another Sowing Mycospawn. But yeah, like the way they did that doesn't make a lot of sense to me. Okay, so I think we've already used our white Surveillant, and I do think we need to get white in order to be able to play out Felia. I think that's important to our game plan here. So I'm not going to use that. I will keep going up just in case I remove this. I can immediately put like a Solitude in play. That'd be awesome. I mean, this is a land. We can play it tapped just out as a land. And then we can swing for 1 with the Strix. I think that's correct because we do 1 damage to them. Yeah, I'm going to go ahead and play this out tapped to preserve life because we don't have anything to do with the mana. Now we'll just go to combat. We'll hit for 1. Okay, and then we just chill and we Felia instep. They are losing a lot of life here. 3 life. They're dead if they don't have another One Ring. If they do have One Ring, it's really annoying. Okay, they're drawing 4 here. They have to find the One Ring here. They can tap Ancient Tomb without paying mana. They can definitely thread this needle. I feel confident they can thread this needle. I have Ugin. That gives them a lot of options here. But again, they have to cast the One Ring here or else they're dead. They don't have any life gain in their deck. And Baleful Strix will be attacking for 1 each turn that they leave it in play. Felia will get Sowing Mycospawn out of the way. So but if they have One Ring, they have protection for the turn cycle. Felia's just going to hit the Chalice so that we can get our Plows back online. It's worth noting that if Felia could potentially hit this, and when we have like a 5-drop, like we technically do already have a 5-drop in our hand, and then we could use Vial to play it that way. K-Command, I can't do anything about that. They're going to just get some mana. Good for 1 damage and a Druid card. And Kozilek Command. And Kozilek Command is always a 2-for-1 though. They have lots of blockers now. Here's the One Ring. Okay. Nothing we can do about this, unfortunately. Okay, they have the trigger. They have the bubble. They can come in and hit us. I don't really want to give them life because I think they may get greedy here. I am going to put Felia in, and Felia can... Yeah, so Felia can blink the Chalice, which I think is worthwhile. A very good chance that they just kill Felia. Let's go get a Tundra, which again is vulnerable to Sowing Microspawn. She comes in. We are going to take up our Vial. Actually, you know what? There's a very small chance that we find like a powerful 3-drop. And if we do, we can just Disruptor Flute the Vial and cast it. I think I'm going to not take it up, and we'll see if this pays off. Because I think like the game is not going to last long enough for 5 to matter, but 3 does matter now if we draw the right card. Hitting Chalice doesn't really matter. Again, we don't really want to give them life. What we want to do is we want to put a freaking, eyeball monster on the stack. Or not on the stack. We just want to vial it into play. Or if we just vial if we draw one of our 4 recruiters, then we can recruit for a Harbinger of the Sea, and then we can lock them out with that. They could probably exile it, but it would take their time. They're just going to K-command. Gosh, that's frustrating. And just exile 2 cards from our graveyard? Okay. Well, now, I don't think I want to tick this up. Or I think I do want to tick this up because we're not going to be able to get rid of Disruptor Flute. So we'll go to 4 here. That is a Recruiter. So Recruiter, what can Recruiter do? Recruiter could get... we don't have... I'm going to go ahead and cast the Recruiter. I think that's a foregone thing. And now we have Harbinger of the Sea, which is good. We have Hullbreacher, which locks them off drawing, but I don't think that's going to be an issue. I think we can't even cast Harbinger of the Sea right now. Witch Enchanter, which lets us play out a land, which gets us closer. I don't think that's worth playing. Another Felia, I think, is the card. Yeah, I'm just going to get Felia. All right. And they've used 2 of their K commands. They still have some. Cavern. Yeah, they have so much mana now. Like, we really do want to be able to Felia and then blink Recruiter. They can't really attack us because we can attack right back with the Recruiter, and it does do damage. Fleshraker. I do have to exile this, unfortunately. It's just too powerful. They may have another one. It sucks because we're really close to killing them, but we're actually not that close to killing them. They have all this late game inevitability. Dropping a Chalice for 1. Okay, this is our window to go ahead and exile. We're going to get rid of the Fleshraker. The good news is they can't really draw cards because they do run risk that they're not going to find another One Ring. They gain 2 life. They're up to 5. This might embolden them to tap their One Ring, but tapping their One Ring does get them closer to their next One Ring. Chalice is in. They have double Chalice on 1. It's not actually that strong against our deck. Chalice on 2 would have been insane if they'd chosen to do that instead. Okay, this is going to Sowing Microspawn our lands, and then the hope of winning is gone. Oh, Devourer of Destiny. That's fine. I'm going to let that happen. I think we're super duper dead, but I'll play it out. Our opponent's clock is almost as low as ours. They come in for 3. Okay. So I am going to tick this up. And then what I'm going to do... I can't both grab Yorion and put Felia in. I think what I need to do... Oh, that's good. Is put Felia in end step and then put Yorion in and then kill with Yorion. But I don't think I'm likely to be able to survive that long because they can just, Iavu going to do other stuff. In fact, I'm just going to F6 until, yield until here, and then I can put Felia in then and let our opponent use up some of their clock. So we'll be a little closer. They can just go get more Sowing Microspawns. We need 3 mana to be able to grab Yorion. We just didn't have a window ever to grab him. I would have grabbed him by now. Yorion actually can't stop Devourer. We're going to take 9 here. So Yorion doesn't do it. We need to actually draw like an Eyeball Monster or something like that. Actually, we can't use Eyeball Monster if we draw it. I don't think there's anything we can do. I'm just going to wait and see what they do. Yeah, they're using lots of clock, which is good. Sire of 7 Deaths. Haven't died of that one in a while. Wizards just loves printing these cards that are like arbitrarily high mana value, but like are insane. Which legacy decks that have Ancient Tomb always manage to put in. Felia is good here. We can hit for 2. I don't see like Bowmasters doesn't do it. Overlord is so close to being good. Actually, We attack, we hit the Disruptor Flute, and then we Overlord, and then we can get Solitude back. I don't think we're going to stay in this. Sire of Seven Deaths is going to kill us. Let's do that. Okay, we'll just go ahead and go to combat here. They're probably going to chump. They take the 2. They're crazy. They are crazy. Let's go ahead and put Overlord in. We'll get back Bowmaster. I think Bowmaster's fine because we can do direct damage. And then we can chump. And then when we attack... Oh, yeah. I think we're doing it. I think this might actually work. So we have double chumpers. They get that back. They can name a different card if they want to. But what we're going to do is we're going to double chump here. I don't think Sire has like... Yeah, I don't think Sire of Seven Deaths has trample. It might. It's got like 7 different keywords. I could easily check that if I wanted to. There is definitely a chance that they try to Alpha Strike here, and then we blow them out. Because we block, even with Sire of Seven Deaths out, we are going to get our Bowmaster back. We can Felia. We have to pay 7 life to target Sire because it's got Ward 7. We'll pay 7 life. They're going to have to screw up here. But like the only reason we're in the game is because they've screwed up several times. This should absolutely be over in their favor by now, in my humble opinion. 5 mana, put like an arbitrarily powerful card. It doesn't even matter what the text on the card is. If this sticks around, you win the game. That's what Sire of Seven Deaths does. They are freaking crazy. Why would you do this when you know I have a Bowmasters in hand? Maybe they can exile it at instant speed. And now I get 2 pings unless they exile it now. And if they... Yeah. Okay. Well, my opponent's misplay is apparent. Like I just can't imagine a world in which that play made sense. Draw 1 card, take 2 damage, put yourself dead on board to your own 1 ring. Maybe they have another 1 ring in hand and they're just like, Fleshraker, I can't stop. Now they can create a bunch of spawns. They might be able to burn us out. We are at 3. They got 4 cards in hand. And unfortunately, this just kills us. Yeah. Super frustrating, super tilting. Because they just create a bunch of spawns and we die to direct damage. Yeah, I mean, maybe it was corrected to tap it if they knew they had the win. I don't know. Okay, so my opponent said GG. Let's see if we can win this matchup. I don't think we change anything. Oh, yeah, we do want to bring in a Prismatic Ending. I think that's clear. Cards that come out. I think Enforced Negation would have been okay there. We could have hardcast it. Bogart Trawler literally does nothing. Like, their graveyard doesn't matter. I think we cut that. We don't really need black that badly. Witch Enchanter can do stuff. Yeah. I don't want to be bolting myself against them. All right, so now we're on the play. Objective. Rescue the President's Daughter. We are going to try to... are you a bad enough dude to rescue the President's Daughter? You ever played Bad Dudes? This hand does what I needed to do, which is go get Harbinger of the Sea and keep Harbinger of the Sea alive. I'm going to keep this, and we're just going to dirtle for the first few turns. We basically have to fetch basics to ensure that we can get this out. So we'll go plains, we'll go island, and then bam, slam. And then we have to wait a turn cycle before we can actually cast it. So a lot of stuff has to go right here. If they just Sowing Micro Spawn us early, there's not a lot we can do. But I do think you keep hands that have a path to a Harbinger, because Harbinger is the best thing you can do against them. They're mulling to 6. They're 1 minute behind on clock, so that might work to our favor. The great thing is, if like Chalice has been so good in the previous matches, but Chalice is not going to save them here if we can get the Harbinger. They also have to be more cognizant of Wasteland than they necessarily should be, because Wasteland was really impactful in game 1. And I am going to be getting basics here. I just don't want to risk having to wade through an entire turn cycle additional because I got greedy and grabbed a non-basic like a Surveil. Eldrazi Temple into Lotus Petal. That's a very aggressive start. I will force that's annoying. That does help them a little bit with mana. We might be able to Prismatic End that later. I mean, it gives them all the colors they need, but I think it's good enough at slowing, Harbinger is good enough at slowing them down. If all their lands just tap for 1, it becomes harder, even if they do have the colors they need. If they don't play a Wasteland, we can Surveil here. Actually, I am kind of worried about Sowing Mycospawn. Sowing Mycospawn can't kick her if you have fetches, because you can just fetch. Yeah, here's Sowing Mycospawn. I can't stop it. I do think this is a window to... Yeah, just grab an Ancient Tomb. So they're just looking to bulk up on mana. I mean, they do play Sire of Seven Deaths. I don't think it can be counter. Well, it won't be counterable with this out. That's for sure. All right, so I mean, there's a risk here that I go off blue when I brainstorm, but I do want to put back the Karakas, I think. They've used one of their Sowing Mycospawns, so they're less likely to Sowing Mycospawn. They don't have that much card selection in their deck. And that gives me something I can do here. And I can potentially redraw if necessary. Disruptor Flute. So I do need to go ahead and just do these now. Because I can't have them shut off my land. If they're smart and name Recruiter, and I'm not saying that's the correct name, but if they do name Recruiter, I do have the option of just getting a different creature with my Recruiter. I'm sorry, they probably won't name Recruiter, but they might name Harbinger. Okay, so we actually did find a blue card, which is great. We found Felia, which is great. I think we put back Karakas. We could redraw this land, and then one of the problems is, yeah, actually we can go get Swamp, and then we play the third land out, and then that, yeah, I like that. So I'll just, I need to shuffle away something here. I'm going to shuffle away one of the Recruiters because we can't let this resolve and let them name Flooded Strand. Okay, let's go get our Plains. All right, that comes in. Felia, that's a good name. I think my opponent's sharp. They're playing slower, which tells me they're probably relatively new to Legacy. Wow, that is actually, it's kind of annoying because I was going to go fetch that and get this Polluted Delta on my hand, but it's okay. Let's just go ahead and get our Harbinger here. We can still cast Felia, and she doesn't have any activated abilities. We just have to pay 5 for her instead of 3. So she still is a viable card. Harbinger, we're going to pass. Force up, even though they have a Cavern of Souls. If they Sowing Mycospawn here and exile one of our land, we can still resolve the Harbinger, but not if they go after our basic island. Take the 3. We are going to have a bit of a clock problem, but I think Baleful Strix will help with that. I'm not going to throw this under the bus because we have Yorion, and Yorion is pretty castable. Okay, so now, question is, do we want to get... these are all just islands in my mind. There's no reason to pay life. Blue, blue, black, Harbinger. And we will force to protect this if they have like Dismember or... Yeah, okay, and now we can attack here. I don't think they're like... Even if they do something, it's fine. We just want to get damage. We're not going to be blocking. We're going to try to Yorion. All right, I'm feeling good about this game. They do not have double colorless currently. Dismember, so we're going to force. And we're going to hope that they don't have another card like that. We're currently winning the race if they choose to attack us. They have 1 card in hand. We have Yorion that we can reach for to recur the Cradle. 1 card in hand. What is that card? Is that another Dismember? See, they have access to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 mana. It's a lot. I mean, they could technically Sowing Mycospawn with Kicker here. That would be scary. They do Sowing Mycospawn, but they don't Kicker. Okay. They could have Kickered. Why not Kicker? There's the waste. Okay. Now they have access to double colorless. So we get Yorion and we survive. Because Yorion can block these for days. We don't have good attacks. We just need to dodge them. I mean, if they ripped what's his name? That would be bad. I haven't seen it at all in their deck, but it's probably in there. Thought-Knots here. Yeah, so we're gonna take some damage here. Take 6, and then we just have to hope that they don't draw bombs. They drew something. Grimana. Okay, that's fine. That produces a lot of mana. But again, once we get Yorion out, they can't really do a lot. So we're going to be able to go to combat. We know they can't block. And then we play Yorion. And then they're not going to be able to kill us. Solitude's a great rip too. We can't actually... We can pitch cast it. Play out the land. Just going to go to combat. Now we can go Yorion. Yeah, I'll just tap like that. It doesn't really matter. Yorion comes in. Still have plenty of clock. This has been an exciting game against Eldrazi. Like big, aggressive Eldrazi with lots of non-Eldrazi. I mean, it's almost like kind of like a hybrid between like Eldrazi and Ramp. There's no reason not to just blink this out so we have another blocker in like an extremely... No, wait. We don't want to do that because they could activate I think. Okay, let's not get fancy. Okay. Now we pass with Solitude up in case of absolute emergency. We're going to go get something big. What is the best card to get here? I mean, we could just get another Strix. I think that's fine. That holds the fort while providing us with a blocker. Witch Enchanter can blow up. Disruptor Flute, I don't think that's important. Yeah, I think we just grab this because this is a blocker for anything. They do have the ability to do a giant K command. They don't have good attacks. And now I think we're in the driver's seat. They don't have Chalice. I think we could just Plow and Solitude. And, well, we can't Solitude. We do have a good attack in that. Oh, I know what we do. We just go like this. Draw a card. And now we can just Plow one. And then we can attack. They gain some life. But I want to be able to attack with Yorion and just keep forward momentum. We still have Solitude if we absolutely need to get rid of this. If they are able to mount some sort of a late game offensive. Okay, they just drew a land, it looks like. A Blast Zone that comes in with 0 counters. This card is so good against Eldrazi, it's not even funny. It's by far the best card ever printed against Eldrazi. We'll just play this out. I think we can just attack again in the air and pass. And I will just chill. They're dead next turn. We have Solitude if we need to survive somehow. Sire of Seven Deaths would be bad. I don't know if they can actually cast that, but they do have a lot of mana. Sire of Seven Deaths has Reach, among other things. Yeah, that resolves. They tapped out of one of their colors, but they have Grim Monolith. I can't do anything about this. They say GG. Wow, that was a freaking grinder. Yeah, I don't know what they were looking for. Like Sire of Seven Deaths would do it though because it's Reach. Well, would it? We could attack with everything, but we'd have to Solitude to get through. Oh, we could Felia, and then we could blink that out of the. We could get that out of the way. Yeah, I think we had it covered. Anyway, that was really fun, and I'll see you in the final round. Round 5, we're up against an unknown opponent with a great hand. It's a slow hand, but it has a Vial. I'm going to keep this. Hope that they're playing fair. If they're playing like Oops All Spells, this is not a good hand. All right, so let's think about this. I don't have to think too hard. I think the simplest thing to do is probably just go grab like an island so we don't have to worry about Wasteland and get the Vial on the stack. And then we've got white source, we've got black source. White is the only real one we care that much about, but I don't want to get wasted even with this Vial out. There is an argument for inviting them to waste me when I put this Teferi out, but our hand is so mana intensive that I think I'm just going to be careful. Because if they like force this and then waste me, we're not guaranteed to draw more land. Okay, they are opting to force. That's smart. Preordain. So when somebody's playing Preordain, it tells me they're probably on Omnitell. Because Preordain is not a good Magic card, in my humble opinion. It's a card and Prismatic Vista. Yeah, I'm definitely getting Omnitell vibes. Omnitell is a very powerful deck that's really popped off recently. Yeah, I think we just play this, get our Surveil, and next turn we can Overlord or we can Teferi. Teferi is actually probably pretty strong. We're looking for a force here. I don't think we need another land. I don't think they're likely to come after our land. Unfortunately, if we Teferi, we won't have a blue card in hand. We might hit one off Overlord. Yeah, Omnitell vibes for sure. Uh-oh, here we go. Oh, stock up, thank goodness. All right, well that is not good for us, but it's not as bad as Show and Tell. So the simple thing to do is probably Recruiter for a Solitude. That way they can't just put they actually have to do the Omniscience route. Okay, we now have a blue card for Force. So it really comes down to one of many things. One, do we just want to Recruiter so that we can get a Solitude? Solitude is only good if they're going off. If I put a Teferi out there, there's a decent chance they'll force it if they have another force. And then we at least have the ability to bounce stuff. So I'm going to play this. I talked myself into Teferi. I think it's unlikely. We're going to take the shock here. And we're going to attempt its Fairy. And then next turn, we can Recruiter. I doubt they have a way to remove this. They might be able to bounce it out of play. Okay, I think we cash this in immediately. And I'm aware that they could put an Emrakul out there and we would be very sad that we can't bounce it back to hand. But we're just going to live in that world. If they put an Emrakul out there, I'll just Recruiter the Guard for a Solitude. 4 mana. One Ring is another card that could come out here, but they're on the blue-green version, I suspect, from that Misty. So I think that there's a decent chance they're not playing One Ring. If they do play One Ring, that's actually... It's not great for us, but we can go get Hullbreacher and tamp that down. Hullbreacher is actually probably a pretty good card to go get with Recruiter in a vacuum. I am going to waste their Ancient Tomb just to deny the mana here. I think the fact that we have a second Recruiter means the first Recruiter can go get Hullbreacher. The second Recruiter can go get Solitude. They're opting to Brainstorm. They're probably going to be extra careful now that this Teferi's out, even though we don't technically have a force. We do have 5 forces in our 80 card deck though, so there is a decent chance we'll find one. As much as I'd like to get on the table with Overlord and start applying pressure, doesn't feel quite right yet. Actually, I may go ahead and Overlord and then just waste them. At least that way we're counting down toward it. There's a decent chance that Overlord does flip a Solitude. 4 and 68. Yeah, so 22% chance with 67. That's something you can just determine through like multiplication. I don't think you necessarily need a hypergeometric for that. Okay, Petal. Cracking. One Ring. Oh, Uro. Yeah, that's no big deal. This is actually really good for us. Okay, they whiffed on land. All right, they now have enough land to do whatever they want regardless. I might want to go to the green source just to reduce the likelihood of Uro returning. Because Uro, even though it's not that big of a deal, it is card advantage and gives them life. And it's something for them to do if they're otherwise stalled out. But yeah, I'm convinced they're on the same type of list that Kai Salvatari has been playing, which is a very strong Omnitell list, which I may play on this deck or on this channel. I was looking at the cards earlier. I need to spend about $150 worth of tickets to get them. Okay. So if we just waste this, we waste the Trop, then we can Overlord. Let's Overlord first. And we have Felia next turn that flips Overlord. If we don't want to waste. We whiffed. That sucks. Okay, so let's talk about like what happens if we just play up the Felia and flip the Overlord next turn instead of going at, because if Uro would come into play and he wasn't escaped, he just goes right back to the graveyard. So they spend 3 mana. They spend their, they may have to tap this just to get a card. I don't think it's the worst if we just get Felia out first. It's a much faster clock. Okay, now they're going to be able to get Uro, which again is totally fine here. They get another Ancient Tomb out. So they've got tons of mana. I don't think wasting them is correct at this point. So I'm just going to go ahead and put this in. So if we get this out of play, they can probably bring it back within a turn or two. If we flip the Overlord, so we could just Recruiter for a Solitude and then Solitude them. And then we can flip our Overlord. Then we at least have a Solitude that we can bring back. Yeah, I'm on board with that. Let's see. 1, 2. Maybe I should have wasted one of these tombs because they may be able to hardcast Omniscience. Yeah, I think Solitude's fine here. We just get it out of the way so that we get to attack. They are going to gain some life here. Okay, we flip the Overlord. They take 2. Overlord enters. We get back Solitude. Now lines that don't involve Omniscience don't work because Solitude will just take care of whatever creature they put in with Show and Tell. Also, it's worth noting that we don't die to an Emrakul attack. What we can do is if they do an Emrakul attack, we can put in Baleful Strix. Strix can block when they attack. All right, we're going to get a turn here. Or they're going to do their thing here. So I am going to put in Baleful Strix because I can just put in Solitude later if I need to. And I might draw into something relevant here. And Omniscience is the card. They have one draw left, or 1 activation left. So it's a Ponder. I can't punish this. If they can find an Emrakul or a Stock Up or something like that, they can start the chain. They don't win here. I'm definitely going to go get Hullbreacher. Next turn, we can just bounce the Omniscience back to hand. Stock up. This is exactly what I didn't want them to find. So they're almost certainly going to win now. They could whiff, but it's unlikely. I think at this point, they can just get like 2 cantrips. Cunning Wish. Now they can do Shared Summons. Or they can do the Epiphany card. Shared Summons. Okay. So they get an extra turn. That enters. Now they're going to put Traxa in. Question is, do we want to go ahead and get rid of the Emrakul or the Atraxa? They're going to get a bunch of new cards. They can't interact at instant speed, so we can just Solitude after we see what they get. They got another Emrakul. Okay, so they're playing more than one Emrakul. I didn't realize that. I think with that, they win. We can just concede. Okay. No reason to show them more information about our deck. All right, clocks are pretty even. I'm pretty familiar with what they're doing. They're doing the blue-green version. Yeah, I didn't expect more than one Emrakul. That was kind of surprising. Force Negations come in. I think that's it. Cards we can cut. Plows. Plows don't do anything, really. I think Consign could come in. So we take out 4 Plows. We bring in 2 Consigns. And, I mean, they could bring in Defense Grid. If we brought that in, what would we take out? Bogart Trawler doesn't do anything, really. They don't use their graveyard. Harbinger doesn't do anything. Yeah, I think that's pretty clean. All right, so we still have 31 creatures in our deck, so that's still a lot of hits. Witch Enchanter still does something potentially. Like, I mean, it would be like a miracle if Witch Enchanter did anything, but... Oh, actually, if they have Defense Grid, it will potentially do something. We're looking for Force Hand. We got it. This is fun. I think what we do is we have Force Negation to interact. Venser to interact if the game goes on long enough. We just open Meticulous Archive. We try to work up toward this Abhorrent Oculus, and that'll end the game pretty quickly. They don't have a lot of ways to interact other than on the stack. So I think Archive, and then I just go get Underground Sea, and we Baleful Strix, and we're drawing a little deeper into our deck. Yeah, Ponder finding stock up was such a beating there, because I think we were in a pretty strong position if they had to pass the turn. I think not for sure, but like I think we would have been like 90% favored. This is the kind of matchup where if you're playing like Blue-Black Tempo, and you have access to Thoughtseize and Daze and Force and Wasteland, all that stuff, you're like, we don't have access to that. We've got 8 forces distributed across 80 cards. Felia, I mean, she's not a bad card, but she's not exactly what we're looking for. What we're looking for is more interaction. So it's sad to put her down, but I'm going to. Putting her down is not the correct way to phrase that. Just not cast her, essentially. Sorry for the awkward wording there. Kai Sabatari has 2 videos where he just goes 5-0 back-to-back with the list. Probably very similar to what our opponent is playing. Very strong deck. Stock up was a huge shot in the arm to Omnitell as an archetype. All right, Aether Vial. I still think we play it out. Yeah, and then I can Surveil again. Yeah, I'd like to get Strix going, but, you know, we're not guaranteed to be able to actually cast Abhorrent Oculus. We may not have enough cards in our graveyard. Just raw dogging it. Okay. I think at this point, Venser is the pitch. Oh, wait, Venser can just bounce whatever they put into play. I still think we fight over this. I'll just fight with Abhorrent Oculus. That's the farthest from being useful. Because they're forcing back. All right, Venser's coming in. Do you have any instants you'd like to cast before that goes back into your hand? No, they had it. They have Sublime Epiphany. We lost. Because they can just grab Sublime Epiphany and then they can draw a card and they can counter the trigger. You just have to hope that they don't have Cunning Wish. They had the God Hand, basically. They had Force Protected, turn 2, Show and Tell. I don't think our matchup is terrible, but like their hand was insane. So yeah, Sublime Epiphany. So now they can counter this ability. They can draw a card, and it's like a power cryptic command, basically. They had to have exactly Cunning Wish in their hand immediately, or like some sort of Ponder or something to go get it. Okay, so they can return. They can counter target ability. Okay, and they draw a card too. That's pretty good. Another Omniscience. Okay. Oh, wow, they're passing? That's good for me. So I'm just going to there's no way we're going to dig out of this. Best thing we can do at this point is probably get like, what can we do? Oh, Lavinia. Lavinia can do this. Recruiter for Lavinia. And we just hope to get Lavinia out before. Okay, so Lavinia is the only thing that is relevant here. We can't take out all those enchantments. I think it's got to be Lavinia. And then we've got to get our attack in. We're so lucky that Recruiter was on top so we could go to it. But it probably won't matter. We'll see what they draw. If they draw a sort of break, any cantrip and we're dead. If it's a giant monster, we're probably dead. We need them to draw land or like, you know, something like, you know, permission spell. If they have force in hand, they can just force the Lavinia. There's nothing we can do about it. We can't wait around for Vial to get ticked up high enough. Certainly aren't thinking a long time. Yeah. Why are you tanking on that? It's like the best possible. Okay, well, the game's over. Sadly. I fail to conceive of a world where they don't find something they can do here. Preordain. Okay, this could whiff. Brainstorm. Okay, this could whiff too. They bottomed both of their scries. They're masters at keeping me in suspense here. I'm just like sitting here like, okay, is the game over? This is kind of like one of those modern type moments where you're just like, all right, there's like a very small possibility that the game is not over. Okay, they're fetching. They now have 3 lands in play, so Lavinia does not shut down stock up and stuff like that. So I'm going to cast stock up and then I'm going to cast Lavinia and then I'm going to waste given the opportunity. Another brainstorm. They almost certainly have like a force at this point. They've looked at so many cards. Another stock up. Okay. I'm going to be right here with my finger on the button. We had basically the perfect hand to blunt what they were doing. And even that wasn't good enough. I don't know if they can use... They may be able to escape for free. Man, I've seen so many freaking cards this turn. Yeah, they get another turn. All right, game over. We tried. That hand was just like insane. I think game 1, if we'd identified earlier, there still wasn't really a lot to be done. So, but we did get a positive record here with Esper Vial in 2025. And I think the deck is fine. I like the additions and changes I made. You can expect a ton of Omnitell in the meta right now. And I think Force Negation main deck Force Negations are totally fine, especially if you're playing a Yorion build. So this list feels fine. I'm going to show you a list that I'm going to attempt to record on. I don't have high hopes of it doing well, but this is going to be like probably the next video on the Be Excellent channel because a lot of people have been saying, give us big control. We don't want to watch, tempo all the time. It seems to be what people are saying. People want to watch larger control decks. Well, check this out. This is essentially like Uro. It's an Uro deck. And it's using Delighted Halfling, which is one of the most powerful cards printed in a long time, in my opinion. Printed in the same set with Orcish Bowmasters and the One Ring, so it was kind of overshadowed by that. But this card is just so strong. So we're not doing anything Nadu-oriented. We're just trying to play like fair Super Friends Planeswalkers. So if you like these kinds of videos, leave comments with timestamps. Like if you want to see me do more control, I'm happy to just play tempo, of course. I like playing tempo. I think it's really intellectually challenging trying to diffuse bombs with tempo, but like this is kind of like a tap out. I mean, we got Minskin in here. We got Dak Vaden. Somebody, I had to actually go buy one of these. I didn't have one of these because it's just been so long since this was playable. But if you think about it, we're playing like 3 Narset. We're playing 2 Teferi. There's a very good chance that we're going to have an early Narset and we're going to be able to potentially him our opponents with Dak Vaden. It's not quite that powerful, but it is good. And then we've got Loam in here, so I'm hoping to be able to Loam. We've got lots of mana. I'm playing a very conservative 21 lands, including tons of dual lands, which you have to do when you're a 4-color deck. And we're really just splashing red here for Meltdown and for a couple Pyroblasts. Endurance, I'm very excited about that against both Graveyard Strategies and against Delver. And we got Ground Seal too, which is also pretty good against Graveyard Strategies. And Lavinia, who is pretty strong right now. I mean, if Lavinia had hit the table there, even with 2 Omnisciences out, I think we would have been okay. So, yeah, I'm looking forward to trying this list. So check that one out next. And until next time, be excellent to each other and party on.